go ahead and get started. President Green is participating via video conference, so he's asking to facilitate the meeting tonight. So we do have a quorum tonight, so we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands, a nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, we will move on to the agenda. Any changes for the agenda for tonight? All right, if not, then I'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and second to approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, raise your hand.
I am waving my
I
hand.
see you, Mr. Green. All right, any
Awesome.
opposed? All right, passes unanimous. All right, we will move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Rodriguez?
Yes, we've got several things that we are going to go through this evening. I want to do a really quick recognition first, and I'm not sure if our Zoom folks will be able to see this, but recently we had a phenomenal Grandview athlete that was recognized as the Athlete of the Week. And I thought this is another piece of good news that anytime that we have, I want to be able to share. So I thought this would be a good way to start out our report.
Sierra Smith for years now, but in her junior season, the spotlight is shining bright.
She is our best player from day one.
This season, the Grandview girls basketball team has no seniors on their starting roster. The Bulldogs are 6-2 in conference play, and Smith is leading the way. She's currently averaging more than 23 points per game, pushing her well past the school's record.
I was surprised because I didn't know how close I was to it. So yeah, that really shocked me.
Smith surpassed 1,500 career points.
I've never seen it before, no. And then, of course, he's a junior, which just boggles the mind.
With 1,511 points, Smith will continue to get buckets.
And next year, hopefully 2,000.
In Grandview, Mackenzie Nelson.
She is a phenomenal athlete, has been since a freshman. If you've gone to any of those games, you have seen her. Like I said, she is definitely a phenomenal athlete and represents us well, and certainly was an honor, well deserved. But like I said, 1,500 points, has the scoring record, and she is just a junior. So as she continues to grow up, she'll get even better. But it's amazing to watch. If you watched her play, like I said, she definitely captivates your attention. So wonderful things that our girls are still playing right now, and playoffs are getting ready to begin for everybody. The next thing we want to do is Governor Parsons has designated the week of February 14th to the 20th as Missouri School Board Recognition Week. So there are so many things that we put on you as school board members, and this is certainly that opportunity for us to make sure that we get to recognize you and the efforts that you have continued to give back to your community in this forum. So first thing, we did want to thank Sodexo. Sodexo provided the snack bag. There's certainly the snacks that some people were enjoying in the refrigerator, the butt cakes that were in the back as well. So we thank Sodexo for providing those particular things, and wanted to make sure that we gave them recognition for that as well. The Grandview NEA also made sure to do a donation to GEF in recognition of the Board of Education appreciation, as they have been prone to do in the past. And so we're very thankful of that as well. I believe for MSTA, I think I see Carol who is on there. So Carol, I'll turn it over to you if you want to say a few words.
Okay. Normal year, I would say thank you for all you do. You go above and beyond, and we really appreciate it. This year, wow, I just can't begin to express our thanks to you, because we know some of the decisions have been hard. We know parents, I live in a district where the parents have been very vocal about it, and it's not always popular opinion. So we just appreciate everything that you've done for us and allowing us to get kids back in here and do what's best for them. So wanted to say thank you so much. MSTA is also making a donation in your name to the Grandview Education Foundation, but thank you.
Thank you very much, Carol. Appreciate that. Certainly, I know GEF appreciates that, and our board does as well. PTA has also gotten into the recognition as well, and we appreciate that. So we have some gift bags that'll be presented to you. As Kathy brings those around again, we certainly are appreciative of our PTA and their thoughtfulness in recognizing the Board of Education as well. We appreciate their partnership with us. We have some additional recognitions. We have, as you mentioned and you saw, we have a few guests on the line today as well. And so I'm going to ask Dr. King to kind of take over this portion, and we want to get some recognition from our principals and school staff.
Okay, so in a box on the floor to your left, you're going to see some very nice things that were given to you by the building. I have all of the fabulous building principals on the Zoom. They're all going to say just a quick little word of thanks to you as you start digging through your bag. See all the nice swag they gave you. Dr. Smith, I'll let you start.
So on behalf of Grandview Middle School, my administrative team, my staff, our students and parents, we truly appreciate everything that you have done to support us, especially this year, which has been a year like no other. So thank you for all that you do for our school community.
I just want to say thank you on behalf of Belvedere Elementary and all of us. We know that you work really hard and tirelessly to make all the decisions and to work with us to try to give us the best that you can for both the staff and the students. And so we appreciate that.
On behalf of the staff and students of Conwest Elementary, I want to thank you for all that you do to support us and your leadership and your guidance, and just thank you for everything that you do.
On behalf of Butcher Green, the kids at Butcher Green, we just cannot express how much we appreciate your leadership, your calm in the storm. You've created an environment for us to come in and take care of kids and staff, and we just appreciate it so much.
On behalf of the students, teachers, and staff at Meadowmere, we are greatly appreciative for all of your efforts to allow us, through your leadership, to be able to have students in our schools since September. We greatly appreciate that and know that it means so much to everyone.
On behalf of the CARE team, I just want to echo my colleagues. We're just so thankful for your leadership, thankful that in a challenging year, we've still been able to be successful, move students and connect with them. We know it's not easy for anyone, but we're just thankful for your leadership.
Good evening. On behalf of the staff and students of Grandview High School, I just want to say that we are very fortunate to have such a dedicated group of people leading our school district. I want to thank you for your leadership, your commitment to our students and our community, and your support of our mission to continually improve the education system for our students. Our schools are without a doubt better because we have you on our team, and we are grateful. Thank you.
So good evening. I have just a little bit of a thing to say to you. So succulents, you would have received one of those this evening, symbolize enduring and timeless love, for they are tenacious plants that store water in their thick leaves and stems. They offer us a positive example by conserving water and flourishing in very difficult circumstances, reminding us that we are stronger than we realize, and even the most arduous situation is not the end of the line. Thank you all for your service to our district and our community, especially this year, from everyone here at High Grove.
Okay, now it's my turn, and Dr. King and I believe Kathy are going to help us out here for just a moment. I'm going to speak on behalf of all of the principals to the school board. There is a true story of a lone genius who solved the greatest scientific problem of his time, which led to the discovery of longitude. Discovering longitude soon became a synonym for attempting the impossible. We hope this sign signifies not only a place where the impossible becomes reality, but continues to be a sign of pride and service in Grandview. Thank you for your support and your confidence and your influence. We couldn't be Grandview without you.
If you all notice the sign, the coordinates at the bottom here are the board room.
Oh, that's so cool. Am I getting hung up in here somewhere?
Yes.
Yes. And we, every single year, obviously the state and the Missouri School Board Association also sends recognition in terms of a certificate. So we have some updated ones for those of you who are veteran board members. We also have new ones framed for the new board members. And it says, for dedicated leadership in public education and continuing service to the children of their community. And absolutely, you all represent that in your service to our community, which we appreciate. Certainly for the rest of us and Kathy, as well as Kathy, we are very appreciative of everything that you do to support the efforts that we have ongoing, and we absolutely appreciate that. We have a little gift for you as well, and Kathy's going to pass those out. But we think everyone needs to still be able to represent Grandview and the school board no matter where you go, and it's something that we've not done previously. So we thought this was a good idea, and it was definitely a Kathy thought and idea. So much so that she was a little jealous that this had not happened maybe during her tenure as a board member. So I'll pay for that comment later, but I hope that you enjoy them. It's for those of you on Zoom, these are shirts that actually have our logo and say Grandview C4 Board of Education. So personalized shirts for them.
Can they see them? If we hold them up and we're talking?
Sure.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So again, on behalf of everybody on the Zoom call, everybody who's not here, I promise you, people in this community know the service that you provide. While sometimes our students don't necessarily know everything that you do, but I promise you,
There you go.
the rest of our staff do.
That's awesome.
And I hope so. Thank you very, very much. And Mr. Green had his personally delivered earlier today, so he gets to partake in that as well. So on behalf of everybody in the school district, thank you for your service. It can be thankless at times, but certainly you devote a lot of your time and effort away from other parts of your lives to devote this because you believe in the school district and you believe in this community. And for that, I am very appreciative and want to thank you on behalf of everyone in the school district.
Thank you.
You may want to comment this year?
I'd just like to say,
Green?
yes, I wanted to say thank you because it's an honor to represent this district in so many ways. Back when I worked for Sprint, now that I'm working for the Federal Reserve Bank, and it's nice, it's awesome to be able to talk to people and tell them about all of the gains and the different things that we do in the community. And not necessarily just as a school board member, but as a community member. And by having such a great staff that we have, or should I say that you have, Kenny, but we have such a great employee too. Thank you for allowing us to serve for the community. It is greatly appreciated. It's an honor that I don't take lightly. So thank you so much.
Go ahead, Dawn. Yeah.
I feel that nothing we do compares to what you all do, so thank you.
Did you all hear what she said? I saw some of you lean in, so she said, thank you for what you all do. Nothing we do compares to what you do. So thank you. I think we all echo that same sentiment. We appreciate you all so much, from central office to the leadership, to the students, the staff, or not students, the teachers and the staff, sorry. So we wouldn't be here without you guys, honestly. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate everything. Thank you for all that you do. It's an honor to serve on the board. So we're just looking forward to much more success here in the district.
All right.
All right.
Thank you, everybody, for being on the call. Appreciate it very much. You are welcome to stay on as long as you wish. We will continue to go on.
Yeah.
So let me continue with the rest of my superintendent's report if I may. We have a few things going on. Usually around this time, I'm talking about the AASA conference and whether I am here or not here, because typically I attend that conference. This year, that conference switched to virtual. So I am attending that conference. Today was interspersed between several different meetings, but I will be attending that conference virtually tomorrow, and look forward to continuing to learn several different components from a lot of amazing leaders across the country. I call your attention to the January official enrollment report that is in consent. You'll see just the difference between the fall and the spring. Obviously not a huge difference, but still a difference of an increase of some students. We continue to reach out to different students that we don't necessarily know where they are in terms of this district or not. I think that's been a common thread across the state of just trying to make sure that we are reaching out to all of our community members and all of our students that we know may have needs or may have be somewhere that we're not aware of or have something else going on in their world. So attendance or the enrollment is down across the state still. So we're still kind of thinking about what's going to happen for next school year, and we'll keep you apprised of that. But that report is in there for your perusal. We do also have, in terms of the COVID update, I've provided that to you guys previously and kind of tried to keep you informed of what's going on. My conversations weekly with the health department, as I continue to say every Tuesday they moved it from 1 o'clock to 12:30, but every single week for the last about 6 to 8 weeks, the numbers have continued to drop. Actually, we peaked at around the week before Thanksgiving, and that's when things were just completely haywire. And so it's taken a long time for things to come down. We're actually in an amazing spot right now. It's still not perfect because there are still cases, obviously, but we are now in the same spot that we were back in September. That's what has led us to start bringing back additional students at our high school. That will begin on Monday. The high school switched back to their schedule of an earlier time today. I woke my son up before I left today, and he was ready, but tomorrow will be rougher, I think, for him. But anyways, that started today. They will come back on Monday, and then our goal is to continue that process over the next month or so, month and a half, just kind of seeing where things lead. I'm hesitant to say exactly what that will be in terms of what the number is going to be and what date, just because I'm not exactly sure what's going to happen. I want some flexibility in being responsive to the numbers. But we're pretty excited right now just to be able to bring back additional students at the high school, and then we will continue looking at everything that we can throughout the district. I reported last month just about our partnership with the Visiting Nurses Association, and that we had many of our staff who were 65 or older, or had some underlying health conditions, or qualified in another area that they were going to be able to be vaccinated if they chose to do so. That equaled about 15% of our staff, and this week was the second shot for those individuals. And so if you time it out from here, about 2 weeks from now is when they would be at that 95% threshold. So we're very excited about that. The only thing that I know right now, and I was asked this question by staff members yesterday about what else do I know about the vaccines and things like that. I know that we're not, getting enough of them at the moment. We do believe that that's going to continue to change. The districts and the states around us obviously have put educators in a different level or tier. And so many of those states were already vaccinating teachers. They still don't necessarily have all the vaccines that they need either. But we are pushing and hoping that we are able to move to that next tier for educators as quickly as possible. We've heard middle of April, but I've also heard that they anticipate that it's actually probably going to be sooner than that. So as soon as that occurs, it's very possible that we'll still be able to work with the Visiting Nurses Association. It kind of depends on who gets the vaccine. If they don't get any vaccines, then we'll have to go with somebody else. And so we have a few different individuals, including Jackson County Health, to make sure that we can still help vaccinate our staff if possible. So I'll continue to give updates as soon as I know additional pieces. Obviously, with a monthly update to you as a board, sometimes there is a little bit of movement in there. But certainly very happy that our staff are being able to be vaccinated.
Can you have a percentage of staff that are interested in getting vaccinated?
When we initially asked that question, I believe it was around 70 to 75%.
Yes.
That said that they would be interested in getting the vaccine. I also talked to Mary Rhodes about a week or two ago, and she anticipated that if we had done that survey again, that it might even be higher. So it's very possible that when we get to the point where we can have vaccinations for more individuals, and we put that out again, we may end up seeing an even larger increase. So, yeah.
13% more. Or maybes.
Or maybes. So we believe that they could very easily, become that yes column, just seeing how things are going. When we initially asked that question, it was before they were even available. And so nothing had even started yet. And so I think there was still even more hesitancy and concern at that point, just with the unknown. So that's kind of where we are. Certainly, I want to make sure and call your attention to a couple things. April election. We do have obviously candidates coming up with Leonard Green and Chuck Cornforth, but we also have Kara Wardlow and Andrew Rexroth that will also be candidates for the board in the April election. So want to make sure that we appreciate anybody that's all four of those individuals for their willingness to even consider that service, especially on board of Education Recognition Week. Also, just a little bit about the April election. Obviously, as you are more than aware, that we will have a bond and levy on that as well. I have begun my tour, so to speak, of presentations. At this point, I've already provided information to the South Kansas City Chamber of Commerce, the Grandview Chamber of Commerce, and the Kansas City Chamber of Commerce. So those are presentations that have already been done. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we'll also be meeting with Rotary. We'll also be doing some town hall kind of things, Facebook Live type things as well, providing as much information as we can and sending out information. A lot of that's going to be a little bit more further into March, but I'll continue to provide additional information to the board on that. But that will obviously be on the April election as well. Certainly several things and good news for you to peruse as kind of part of the board priorities update as well. Grandview High School students earning some things. I want to make sure and call your attention to this. Certainly with President Green on the line as well, that earning awards and aspirations in computing. But not just that, this is the National Center for Women and Informational Technology. And so you see some amazing kiddos there that are being recognized for their efforts. And this has been an ongoing piece for us. It's been one of our priorities to make sure that we are pushing to bridge this gender gap that continues to exist in that area. And I feel like we've done this since I've been in the district. My second year in the district was when we actually added a intro to engineering course that was split by gender to encourage more females to be a part of that. And you've heard some of our graduates over the course of the last year talk about some of those experiences that they had. And so this is a part of that. But I am so proud of these young ladies and the things that they're continually able to do. I think we also had some other students in our 3-district partnership as well that we were going to talk about. You want to take that real quick?
Sure. So this summer we had our pathway to early college with our partnership with Longview and the 3 districts, and we were able to send up to 10 students to Longview MCC, and they were going to earn college credit. And basically, they're earning up to 9 hours of college credit before they graduate. We were able to find and secure, in the midst of a pandemic, 10 students who were interested in it. Some of our neighboring districts were not quite as lucky to find that many and to get them enrolled. I am very proud to report all 10 of our students are passing and are staying with the program. We are the only district that was able to manage to accomplish that. So we're super proud of those students. They're loving it. They're earning it free. The college is being paid for their college classes. So we're hoping to expand this in the future as we can, but really, I think it's kudos to the teachers that were able to help support them at the high school as well, virtually. as well as what they're able to do at Longview.
Very good news. It definitely fits with our college and career readiness. It fits with our pathways and everything that we're trying to accomplish. The last thing I'll point out on board priorities is just my continual conversations, and was able to meet again with our district kind of group that I put together, representing a variety of different buildings and different positions. But this kind of district group is going to start meeting more regularly and really make sure that we begin mapping out our goals of what we really want to accomplish around cultural competency in this district and where we go from here. It's been 5 years. I've been superintendent for 5 years, and we've done these presentations now in our 5th year. We've made progress, but where do we want to go, and how do we make sure that we continually get there? So I'm excited to keep bringing that back to the board and having additional conversations with you around that. So be on the lookout for that. But that will be the last of my superintendent's report, I believe, unless somebody tells me that I forgot something.
I just have one quick question on the comment you made about contacting the students that didn't enroll. Have you found a common theme as to why they haven't enrolled?
You want to take that, please?
Yeah, so we've been doing our Operation Child Find, trying to find out where these kiddos are. A lot of them, it was residency issues. They couldn't prove residency and not being able to come on, on site, and there were some issues with that. So we're trying to help them navigate that in a little different way. Ms. Cook's office is working really, really well with us on just take a picture and send it, and let's get them going and let's get them enrolled. So some of it has been that. We still have some that are kind of still hung up in that span. We have quite a few students, and we can get you full numbers on these, who've had to move into relatives' homes outside of the district. And they're just kind of, they're either not enrolling in school or homeschooling kind of thing for a little while, or and hoping to come back still. So it's been a mix. There's probably about 30 I've had K-12 we've been unable to find so far. So we're still on a hunt.
That's pretty good odds, though. I mean, only 30 out of 300.
It is. You also
Pretty
think
fantastic.
statewide, kindergarten is still one of those challenges. A lot of individuals just made the decision to not put their kids in kindergarten. And so besides Meadowmere, I think all of our enrollment was down in every single site for kindergarten. Yep. And so it was just one of those years. And so I think next year we're really wondering, is it kindergarten? Is it first grade? What happens, because we do live in a state where kindergarten is not mandated. So we're going to have to, kind of go through that. And Ms. Deanna is actually starting those conversations now with principals and kind of seeing what we think is going to happen in that regard. But there's a piece of it that does have to do with kindergarten as well.
Any questions for him?
No questions, just thank you for the information.
Absolutely, thank you.
All right, then we'll move on to salient days. Dr. Rodriguez?
Yeah, there is 2 meetings I want to make sure and call your attention to. We have closed board meetings on March 4th and March 9th. And then obviously our next board meeting will be early because of spring break in March 11th. And then we do have a tentative date for graduation being on May 24th. And so we'll be confirming those and make sure that we send out to everybody, but that is a tentative date for right now.
Fantastic. Any thoughts on graduation at this point? We're still totally up in the air.
I would say totally up in the air. We are very hopeful that based on what we know right now, as of February 18th at this time, it looks very positive for us to actually have a traditional ceremony. It may still be less people, and it may still look a little different on the floor and things like that, but we feel like we should be able to have a traditional ceremony for our kids. It was very interesting in talking with Dr. Butler. Some of the feedback that she received from parents was almost mixed of, you had some that only wanted a traditional, some that wanted the drive-through like they did last year, and some that wanted both. So you kind of got a little bit of everything. So
it's a party.
but we do hope that they're able to do some of those senior activities. Prom is an interesting conversation right now amongst all the school districts and what that could potentially look like. And so they're trying to work through all of that and see what's going to be possible and such. But we're hoping for a traditional ceremony at least.
Fingers crossed. All righty, we will move right on then to the Finance Committee report. Mr. Bornforth.
The Finance Committee met February 16th at 5:15 p.m. In attendance were myself, Don Kissinger, Damon Green, and Ms. Anne Marie Cook, Assistant Superintendent. We had no audience participation. Ms. Cook asked if there was any items to review for this board meeting, and we had none. Inspection of warrants. The committee inspected representative warrants. Mr. Green examined all warrants over 15,000. Mr. Kissinger examined the district's purchasing cards. Mr. Wentworth examined the expense and reimbursement warrants. Ms. Cook responded to questions. Based on the examination, the Finance Committee recommends the warrants be approved by the Board of Education.
All righty. Any questions about that? Perfect. We will go ahead and move on to recapitulation of funds then. Dr. Rodriguez.
Yeah, so we got a few things to talk through with Ms. Cook.
Yeah, the financials in your packet are through the month of January. As you look at the revenues, you'll see that year to date, we are down a little bit compared to this time last year. Some of that is some timing of receipts, but also you'll recall that state aid, while on the upswing, was still cut earlier in the year, so we're still feeling the impact of that. I'm pleased to report, though, that January was still a pretty strong month for our tax revenues locally. We got almost $8.3 million in operating current tax revenues from Jackson County. At the end of January, we were just shy of 94% of our budget for the year, whereas we were just at about 90% last year. So we knew last year we were under what we wanted, so I think that's a really positive sign. So tracking pretty well. We're monitoring that, particularly on the state aid side, and still awaiting the information for some potential CARES dollars, and I don't know if Dr. Rodriguez is going to address that when I'm done, probably. On the expenditure side, while it's not great that we're down on the revenues, the nice thing is that we are down about 1.5 million on our expenditures from this time last year. As you know, we kind of target our payroll and see where that's running, since that's the majority of our budget, and we are right on target with where we should be at this time of the year. At the end of January, we did have a surplus of about $8.4 million for the year. However, sadly, our expenditures will continue to outpace our revenues for the remainder of the year, but we are in a stronger position than we were at this time last year. So that's a positive sign.
Yeah, and I'll first of all, thank Ms. Cook for her efforts and work through all this, managing a lot of different changes and a lot of different things that we've been cut and trying to keep everybody apprised on what's going on. Some of this, like she mentioned, we've been able to do a few things with some of the CARES dollars. With the new ESSER 2 funds that we will receive, this is going to be a longer process and conversation. It's a larger amount of money. It's the same kind of restrictions in terms of what we can spend it on. And a lot of it, I will just tell you, it's still a little bit vague, but it definitely is very COVID related type things. So when we're talking about instructional issues and challenges with students who haven't been on our campus, what are the things that we're going to be able to do to assist them? But we'll have 2 years to fully expend those monies. So this won't be an immediate thing. It won't be something that I'll say, this is what we're going to do, and then it's gone. It's going to be an ongoing type piece over the course of the next few years. And even though that money may not last that amount of time, we'll make sure and keep you kind of apprised of what our plan is. So we just found out the monies, and we just kind of found out it's not even in our accounts yet necessarily. That's going to be a little bit later, probably more like May. So we're looking at what we could potentially do. We had meetings today about summer school and just other things that we can be as creative as possible to start assisting with this full back to school kind of wave that we hope is on its way for the 21-22 school year. So we'll talk about, certainly it's going to be a longer conversation and multiple times that we'll have touch points for that, and then we'll make sure and keep you apprised.
Perfect, thank you. Any questions about that? All right, audience participation. Iris, did we have anyone register?
No one registered.
All right, fantastic. We will go ahead and move on to consent agenda. And I will entertain a motion about that.
I'll make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Thank you. Been properly moved in second that we approve the consent agenda as presented. Any discussion about that? All right, all those in favor, raise your hand.
I'm raising my hand.
See ya. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. All right, we will continue to move right along to action discussion agenda. We've got student success focus area.
Yeah, we've got a couple of things for you this evening. We're going to start off with a couple of program evaluations. So I'll ask Dr. King.
Okay, so we have both Ms. Cordier and Ms. Malloy on the line. We're going to start with the homeless. Ms. Cordier, if you'd like to give us your program eval.
Definitely. Good evening, everyone. What I will be doing first of all is just sharing with you the basic information on MKV, McKinney-Vento, which is better known for our homeless, displaced students, and unaccompanied youth. Since 2015-16 school year, we have served an average of about 82 homeless students per year. Students are identified through the enrollment process utilizing the state and federal definition of homeless students. All services available to the general student population are also available to our homeless students. As a part of the ongoing homeless program evaluation, the processes and procedures are reviewed and updated to ensure the district is following any changes in the state and in the federal guidelines. Additionally, the district works to ensure students are quickly identified, school enrollment and attendance is immediate, and other services such as transportation, school supplies, and clothing are quickly identified and hopefully that need met. Funding is provided through the operational budget for transportation costs. The district has contracted, and we have contracted for at least 4 years with ALC schools for all of the McKinney-Vento transportation, in addition to some district, some of the buses for our MKV students that are right next to our border, we are able to provide a district bus. The district coordinator of pupil services, myself, the director of special services, and the director of transportation, we continue to work very closely together to ensure that we are meeting the needs of our students. So program strengths would include procedures that are in compliance with state and federal standards. Procedures for accessing services are consistent with the processes for providing services for all students. Continuing to make contact with our MKV students or the homeless family. I do that at least twice a year each semester, but as we continue to bring students back, I am reaching out to find out the specific needs for our MKV students. Also active involvement of the district homeless liaison with the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's homeless liaison. And what we do is I attend the trainings, phone calls, emails. Also, I am very happy of the relationship that I have built with other district MKV liaisons in the surrounding area. Continued concerns is, of course, just transporting our homeless children. And then recommendations are to continue to participate with the Kansas City Area Regional Homeless Liaison Group to continue to identify procedures for providing services. And then also currently working with the Grandview Assistance Program. Charlie Jennings is a part, she was specifically hired by GAP to work specifically with our parents in Grandview. And so she is providing possible housing resources for them. And so the PowerPoint that you received was just for the benefit of our new board members and just to kind of find out some of the challenges, some of the strategies for MKV, and also to serve as a refresher for our veteran board members. So I am ready to entertain any questions.
Any questions?
Just what, the number this year is rather low for average over the last 4 or 5 years. Any thoughts on why?
Well, we did, there are from the 70 that we had, I was able to identify each and every kiddo and where they are. 28 did enroll from the 70 from last year to this year. There were 15 students that were denied MKV status. That was due to them being in another school district where they have secured housing. We did find, unfortunately, that there were a few students that was using MKV as a way to get a school of choice. We also did lose, I want to say, about 10 to 12 kids. They did unenroll back when COVID did begin. We did find out that they are in other school districts. So we were able, although our numbers are low this year, we do anticipate that there will be a jump, especially with the economic conditions that we continually see. We do expect that those numbers will be right at what we have been in the past or even higher.
Just one other question. Do you have like the demographics on the students, you know, age, grade, ethnicity and things like that?
Yes, all of that is pretty easily accessible through our student system. All of the parents fill out an evaluation, an MKV evaluation form, and all of that information is on the form.
Is that something that we would be able to just kind of view, just to kind of see what that looks like?
Sure.
Is it kind of put together?
We'll make a note of that.
Okay. Thank you.
Anything else? All right. Thank you, Ms. Cordier.
Thank you.
Always, Ms. Cordier.
Always.
Love your smile. Keep it up.
Thank you.
And next we have Ms. Malloy on our migrant program eval. Ms. Malloy.
Good evening, everyone. My program eval is going to be really short tonight. I check and to see who enrolls, and once again, we've had no family come forward that have indicated that they are of migrant status. If they do, we have all the processes in place for what we need to do. It's on our enrollment forms so they can self-identify, and then I would work with the DESE representative through the Missouri MEL or Migrant Education Program to have them actually work with the parents and determine if they do truly meet migrant status. So at this time, the recommendation is that we remain current on all the rules and regulations in regards to migrants, and that I work with our centralized enrollment team to make sure we've included the correct questionnaires on our online registration documents.
Any questions? That's pretty simple. Glad we have processes in place. Glad we don't need them though yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. Someday you'll be ready, right?
Yes, we will.
All right. We will keep going.
Thank you.
All right, so we will continue on as we have
Oh,
done.
no, we do have to.
Oh, we
Sorry.
do need a motion, yes.
I'm sort of there. We do need a motion for these two program evals.
I move that we approve the program evaluation for homeless services and for migrant services as presented.
Second.
All right, it's been properly moved and seconded to approve the program evaluation for homeless service and migrant services. Any discussion about that? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Mr. Green? All right, raising your hand. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. Now we'll move on.
As we have kept on the agenda, and we will continue to do so, we kind of had a CNI update as a regular piece here. It gives us an opportunity to continue to keep you apprised of kind of what's going on, and allows Dr. King to continue to talk about the amazing things happening instructionally. Even though it's still stressful, it's still a lot of things going on our staff. It certainly still causes angst at any point in time. We're still able to talk about some of those things and still continue to push forward. So, Dr. King.
Thank you much. I'm going to bring two things to your attention tonight. Last month, I had given you a kind of an overview of iReady from fall to winter, and it was really a bird's eye view, a real 30-foot view. We've tried to take it and we've broken it down a lot over the last few weeks. I want to talk a little bit tonight about our SPED population and our EL population. Some of our most at-risk students in the district, and a lot of them have chosen to be virtual, and then we're trying. A lot of them have chosen to come back, and we're weighing these options back and forth about what are we seeing in terms of their growth, and how we're meeting their accommodations in the best and most appropriate way. So it's a mixed bag. It's some good news and some bad news. Overall, our SPED kiddos, whether they're virtual or in place in a hybrid situation, they are scoring significantly lower than our reg ed kids. So if you think about our math, iReady, we had about a 13-point gain for our reg ed kids in math. Consequently, correlating to our SPED population in the same areas with about a 4-point increase. We've got a deficit that is not increasing at the same level. We had if you think that's that top level, that green level, getting to that level. Whereas we had a 13-point decrease in 2 or more grade levels below that red category, remember, for our reg ed population, but only a 7-point decrease in our SPED population. So they're not making the moves, which is also to be expected. Consequently, EL, like the EL and math, they are scoring the same. They're making the same amount of growth as our reg ed kids, with the accommodations that Cheryl and her group were able to provide. Reading was much the same. It's actually a little more alarming. In our reg ed kids in reading made about a 13-point gain overall and ready from fall to winter, whereas our SPED population made a 1-point gain overall. And so that's a little concerning as to what we're doing with their. If you think about that red category, we're trying to get kids out of that red category. So we were able to move 8% out of that red category in reg ed, and only 4% on our SPED population was able to move out of that. If we want to pull over to EL, our EL kids actually made 12-point gain in reading, and our reg ed kids made a 12-point gain in reading. So they're right on track. And actually, if you think about that red category, we were able to move 7% out of that red category in our reg ed, where we were able to move 18% out in our EL. Wow. So they're actually getting that growth at a larger rate than we were able to see in our EL. So really, we've got a mixed bag. So what that causes my team to do, and one of the things that we've been doing with Cheryl, is we're looking at how do we need to think differently about some of the accommodations and how we're meeting the goals for some of our SPED population. So we have a great article that we were looking at. It was in the last Educational Leadership magazine on accommodations and modifications at a distance, basically really focusing on what this is looking like nationwide. And the trend that we're seeing is not unlike the nation is seeing, but it really does just specific things about how school districts are able to navigate and lessen that gap that it seems to be growing. So we're looking at specifically 4 different categories that we're going to be able to look at going forward, and how we help bridge that gap with it. A lot of it is looking at individual students. We need to bring them back 4 days a week rather than just 2, and to really get to those accommodations. And how do we video conference with parents that are obviously helping the students rather than just kind of directly talking to the student. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention that we're looking at those things, we're very aware of those things, and we are seeking ways to address those as well. Any questions or anything on that? We'll be glad to continue to bring you further updates as we go. We're breaking it down by gender, free and reduced lunch. We're also looking at race, all those things. We're looking at who's performing and where's the growth happening, and then how can we address the specific things that are going on.
On the EL students, I mean, that's phenomenal
Yes.
gain there,
Yes.
especially for many of them, I'm sure being virtual.
Mhm.
You know, I think about those instructors that, you know, pull them aside out of class to have that one-on-one time or two-on-one or whatever that I've seen, you know, what kind of strategies are they using right now?
What they're finding is it's actually becoming a family. The kids who are virtual, the families are actually doing a lot of the learning together.
Nice.
On there, and it's becoming this kind of a communal thing. We've got really great interpreters, really great people that are reaching out and are constantly making that contact with them. What do you need? What services can we help provide for you? I think our schools have done an amazing job of making sure they're staying connected with that growing EL population as well. Cheryl's group teachers do a fabulous job. Always reaching out and finding, I think, and not that our SPED group is not doing a fabulous job. I don't want to make it sound like that. It's just that is such an at-risk population. We really have to start looking at it in a different way, and looking at it in a way that we can surround the families. Much like what it seems has happened with our EL, it's that family support. How can we capitalize on some of that with some of our other populations as well?
That's great.
Any other questions? The second thing I'd like to just talk a little bit about was we had our PD day. You remember we've gone virtual professional development. We've done modules for our professional development rather than bringing people in person. So we were able to provide an additional 6 modules on curriculum, able to provide an additional 4 on what Janet Melton is able to do with health and wellness. We were able to provide a lot of social emotional professional development opportunities for teachers, and receive some of the results back. And overall, they're still 93% were strongly in agreement with what we provided choice to them. 91% we were strongly balanced, significantly balanced between schools and department. I think that's just an area we could do more in, to making sure that we've served our preschool teachers all the way to our high school teachers, and giving them a greater variety of choices. 85% felt it was relevant. Almost 90% felt it increased their knowledge. And 96 felt that they were honored. They felt honored that their safety and health was being honored. And 97% believe that the remote work or the module work is more effective, and they would like to see more of it in the future. The most popular PD that we offered was actually from Janet Melton, and it was entitled Breakfast and Salad in a Jar. And it was by far the most popular PD that we offered for both certified and classified staff, which I thought was I told Janet kudos, and can you do 4 more for us? Our second was a guided reading, and our third was actually on Carla Harris's videos on trauma in the brain, which we had a lot of good feedback on as well. So I wanted to say we're continuing to refine and take some feedback on. We felt the 40 minutes was too long. Last time we did 60-minute modules, we shortened it down to 40. They still felt 40 minutes was maybe too long to sit on a Zoom. So we're trying to figure out ways we can maybe make short incremental PD rather than longer sessions of PD. Take some of that feedback and see if we can't make it more accessible to our staff when they need it and for what they're doing. Overall, I can tell you that I'm super proud of the CNI team and the modules they were able to provide, and the quality of those modules that are going to outlast, and we're going to be able to create a catalog. So new teachers joining us are going to be able to go back and review and have those options to look at any time. So be happy to entertain any questions on what we do PD days. You're always welcome to join. In fact, we can send you links to any module you would like. If you would like to learn how to make breakfast and salad in a jar, we'll be glad to send that to you as well.
Well, got a thumbs up, I saw, so, you know, maybe you should just send that one out. Any questions?
No, but I think it would be nice if, one of those PD days, and if there's topics we could choose from. that we might
Absolutely, we'll be glad to get you the menu.
Right.
Absolutely glad.
Yeah, we'll have another one coming up pretty soon. So
April, beginning of April.
yeah, we'll absolutely do that. And I'll echo what she said, but also with Dr. King as well and her entire team, working through that. And obviously, we get a lot of feedback on any number of different things, and certainly there's a lot of positive feedback. Certainly, there's a lot of constructive feedback as well. And so we try to continue to make sure that we make improvements and make adjustments. And PD has been one of those things since I've been in this district that we have changed multiple times, trying to keep getting better. And her and her team have definitely taken it to a whole other level from what we were able to do before. So certainly very proud of what they were able to do as well. And I think our teachers and our staff certainly appreciate that on both sides, whether they're in the classroom or in a support role. They'd appreciate that.
Perfect, thank you.
I'd like to say that over the years, I agree with you, Dr. Rodriguez and Dr. King, thank you. And, PDs have developed into something much better than they used to be before you. And I appreciate that. I think that, and the teachers do too, and the rest of the staff. They used to be not too relevant, but
We're trying.
I think they're more relevant now than they used to be.
Appreciate that.
So thank you.
I appreciate that you are always willing to listen to feedback. And when I talk to my teacher friends and I say, you need to give feedback because in this district, they look at everything you say.
I've got it all here. Sometimes the good, bad, and the ugly, and we take it in and we're like, what can we glean from this that will help us do better next time?
So I appreciate
All right, well, that is just informational, right? We do not need to vote on that one. All right, we'll move on to workplace excellence focus area.
No items submitted this evening.
Perfect. Well, then we'll continue to move on to the fun stuff, resource stewardship and organizational efficiency.
This has been a long kind of process as well. And as we've looked at, you've heard certainly myself say it, Dr. King talked about it several different times, but it goes through every single one of our areas when we talk about equity in any number of different things. But it definitely is not just an academic type thing. There's any number of different processes that support the academic process. And so Ann and I have talked about this several different times and looking at that. Certainly it includes Dr. King with some of these conversations as well. But playgrounds has been one of those things. And certainly it's been one of my hot topic things as well. And something that I'm a little cranky about at times when I go to different schools and I see things at different sites that don't match. And I want all of our students to be able to have an opportunity to have the best. And I think they deserve it. And so this has been part of something that I've pushed since I've been superintendent. And the board's been very supportive of that and approving a lot of the things along the way, including the $45 million bond that will be coming up in April. So this is just my little introduction before I turn it over to Ms. Cook to kind of talk about this a little bit, but this is all part of that exact same conversation. So Ms. Cook.
Yeah, unfortunately, our playgrounds are not one of our points of pride at this point. That is an item that has been identified for needed upgrades throughout the district. As Dr. Rodriguez mentioned, we do have a pretty substantial amount on the list for the $45 million that has been proposed, should that be successful in April. We're starting with one. It is Butcher Green. We had a district-wide team. Dr. King was on it as well. Ms. Nash from Butcher Green, some facilities folks. Ben, who was a certified playground inspector, was part of that team. Ms. Bradley from High Grove. So a nice cross-section across the district. We've been working with Landfree Studios. They are a landscape architect firm. And so what we have before you tonight is really one project with two components. It's broken up into two areas. The first is the actual playground equipment and surfacing. We have an opportunity to purchase that through the Greenbush Cooperative. So we get it, that's already been bid and we get discounted amounts on that. And then the next item will be on the site work to support those efforts. So what we've done is at the playground, God, it's gonna be so cool. There'll be an asphalt section that'll have, tetherball and basketball and that sort of thing. Then there will be two very distinct areas, one for younger kiddos, one for older kiddos. and then, which will have synthetic turf under synthetic surface under them. And then we will have the swing set area. And what's really fun in the swing set area is that there are group swings and friendship swings, a lot of accessibility, because we did have Cheryl Malloy on the team as well, because accessibility for kiddos was a big component that we wanted to make sure we had. We have, can you play that video?
Yeah.
We're getting ready to play the video for the main structure within the larger kiddo area. We don't have a similar, unfortunately, we don't have a similar video for the smaller kiddos, because that's really a component system that we've pieced together, so it's not a system like this one. So there's some pictures that were included with the in your packet, and so everything that is in those pictures is what we will be getting. There'll be some spinners, some rockers. There'll be an outdoor classroom that'll be part of this, with some really nice natural components. It's just, this is going to be something extremely, just so special for these kiddos. It's weird that a playground is one of the most exciting things I think we've done in a long time. And again, this will be the template for what? Huh?
It's not weird.
Oh,
It's not weird.
This will be the template, but just look at, I mean, and hopefully by the time we do this, kids can actually all be grouped together like that and playing on a structure. But this will be the template and kind of this is what a playground in Grandview will look like, you know, as we move forward, if we're able to, you know, when we're able to complete the rest of them. But we are using Butcher Green as our template, and just really excited for the opportunity this will provide for our kids. It's going to be fabulous. When this gets done, Dr. Rodriguez, if you would mind, or Kathy, whoever's driving, put up one of the pictures of the that were included. It doesn't matter. They're the same picture. They're just kind of different angles, if you will. Thank you.
It probably downloaded.
So anyway, like I say, there's swing sets, there's structures like this. At the outdoor classroom, there's some spinners, some rockers, some just all kinds of stuff to make kids go crazy, and it's just gonna be super fun. The nice thing is.
Classroom on here. Where's the outdoor classroom?
That'll be, you'll see that more so on the next one, on the site plan. This first one is really just the contract with the provider of with AFCO, who's from Landscape Structures. That's for all the equipment and the surfacing. And then the outdoor classroom is in the other bit. This does include some of the limestone rocks and stuff, but you'll see that better on the next item with the site plan. So you'll see the two distinct areas for the lower kids and the upper kids. The color palettes, they have a gazillion color palettes you can choose from, or you can kind of build your own. We started with one and then modified it because it wasn't quite what we expected, but Ms. Nash did work with her building leadership team, our team worked together on the colors, and then she went to her building leadership team because she wanted buy-in from the staff. And so I just think they're really, really excited. And the other nice thing is this will actually be located on the west side of the school, where it was originally intended, if you look at the old drawings of what the school is supposed to look like. And so we won't have kids crossing over a drive path to get to a playground area. So we will put this in, and those others will go away, because, you know, if there's anything salvageable from that, we'll decide what to do. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that we have may not be usable by anyone else, because there are some safety concerns, and we've had to shut down parts of some of our playgrounds.
Yeah, and certainly, I mean, all of you know, but, you know I see former elementary teacher, you know, but I would see two parents of individuals that have gone through our school district, someone who was vital in bringing in a playground at one of our other schools for this very reason, knowing the value of play and knowing what we're trying to continue to accomplish. And our students need to have these opportunities to go outside and to do this, and to have that opportunity. It is a part of the learning process, and we know how valuable it is. But again, for me, it is an equity concern that I don't like get one experience at one school and a completely different experience at another school. Everybody has, and certainly every building has its own culture and things, but this should not be a part of that. We need to make sure that we have equity at all of our school sites, and what's good enough for one particular school is good enough for all of ours. And again, this will set a tone of, this is what, as she said, a playground will look like in the Grandview C4 school district, and this is what our kids deserve. So I'm really excited about it. It's one of those things, again, that has been kind of a thing in my crawl for a while, that I just don't like going to those schools and seeing these particular things. And I don't think our community does either. And again, if you know Butcher Green, you know that particular area, that's what everybody sees, is that area there to the west. So it will be a really nice addition. I think it'll be a good start for what we're trying to do.
It is expensive. I mean, each playground we've estimated, and we had that in the budget for the new bond issue, is about $500,000 between the equipment and the site work that's involved in storm drainage and getting the surface, the underground stuff ready for the surfacing and all of that. So it's quite an undertaking. It's a lot more complex than, certainly more so than I envisioned when we first started having conversations. So as I said, there's two different board items for this. We kind of talked about both of them. This first one is actually for the contract for the equipment itself and the surfacing through AFCO for an amount not to exceed $298,616. So happy to respond to questions, but otherwise we would request approval.
I can tell you from personal experience, you're probably not gonna be able to save anything that you pull out. It's hard to get out once it's been there a while. So,
I'm still having
but
a
it's
little
fun.
hard time envisioning the location, and then a follow-up question of what happens to the current area south of the school. You say to the west of the school?
Correct.
Is this
Between the
where
school and the railroad
courtyard-
crossing,
where
between the school and the
courtyard
railroad crossing.
used to be? Yeah, and I'm sorry.
If this is the street, here's the school, it's gonna be over here. Right? That's west.
Between the school and the railroad tie,
Yeah.
and it'll all be fenced in.
Yeah, currently there's. a
There's one to the
courtyard
north and one to
and
the
a
south.
Parking area, and then fencing around there, and then there's the northerly playground, I guess, with some equipment.
That will be, those will become green spaces, and the one to the north, I mean, to the south, pardon me, yeah, sorry, the one to the south, I think that we will want to have some conversations about whether that's parking or whether traffic flow, bus flow, pedestrian, car traffic, that opens up a lot of opportunities for what that might look for moving forward. Because it's not ideal right now.
Right, no, it isn't, it hasn't been. So for
Like I
the
said, I don't
next
think it was ever
foreseeable little
intended.
bit, it'll be, equipment will be removed and will turn into a green space.
Yes.
For the foreseeable little bit. And we have, the cost of that is in this somewhere, the site work or the.
Yeah, we have the two different items, certainly the one for the equipment itself, and then the very next one is the site work. And that's what she was saying is, combined, it's about $500,000 with one coming in that you're looking at currently at 298, and the other one comes just barely over 2.
But that does not include dismantling and getting.
Correct.
Of the.
Yeah, that's
that would
just
be a
for
separate
this playground.
undertaking.
Does not include the remediation of.
No,
No.
and I think, and this will be a little different, in some of our other schools, it may very well, because we may be putting the playground in the same place where there's an existing playground. But at Butcher Green, because we're putting it in a completely separate place, that'll be a little bit different.
Correct. Con West has a spot that we already kind of have that area. It may be in that other field, but I would think that it would be probably in the same footprint of exactly where it is.
Same
So,
with Belvedere.
Same with Belvedere, more than likely, and some of the other, components, but it's very possible that it could be, Martin City's probably the exact same way. It's already got a footprint right there on that east side.
You can just have a stress relief day and everyone go out and just rip stuff down. It's free that
We're
way.
planning on doing that. We'll invite the board to do that.
Right? You might actually get people to pay to do
Demo
that.
was fun. Demo was fun. I remember when we did our old maintenance facility.
Yeah.
That was,
No, absolutely. People
Right.
might pay to do that, like $5, you can come and rip something out of the ground,
Fundraising opportunity.
Hey, always looking for that. All right, any other questions?
Pending approval, what's the tentative start date and completion date?
Actually, this is one, we're not waiting for summer. We talked with Mrs. Nash about, do we need to wait for summer to end? And she's like, no, because our fear is if you wait, you know, then you've got weather constraint. I mean, there's only one classroom that could potentially be disrupted, and she said, we'll figure it out. And actually, this is the year to do it because we do have, you know, fewer kiddos in our buildings on any given day. So, pending approval from the board, we'll work to get things going, and it'll get started as soon as we possibly can.
Did AFCO give you lead time on the equipment? I don't remember seeing that.
It's pretty quick because, I believe they said that, it assumes delivery by April 1st.
Okay.
So.
Missed that. Oh, shipment, April 30th.
Oh, April 30th, pardon me. But of course, if the ground's got, obviously have to be coordination between AFCO and the,
Frozen
and Venture
ground.
Construction, you know, as far as doing all that, but that shouldn't be a challenge. And as I say, we've got Michael and Bob from Land 3 Studio that'll help us keep all that coordinated and in place.
Perfect. Mr. Green, you have anything?
All good here. I'm just looking forward to at least watching because I can't play on it myself.
Sure you can.
No.
Sure you can.
I know my limits now.
This one most certainly does require a motion, so I will entertain that.
I move we approve the contract with AVCO LLC for the Butcher Green Playground equipment and servicing for an amount not to exceed $298,616.
Second.
Properly moved in second to approve a contract with AFCO LLC for Butcher Green Playground equipment for not to exceed $298,616. Any discussion further? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. I see Mr. Green. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, the next item is the site work. So I'm happy to entertain any additional questions, but we would ask for approval.
Would you mind pulling that picture up and just kind of directing us where the classroom is? It's kind of hard to tell. I'm not a schematic person.
Yeah, you're gonna have to blow it up. This one was a little different in that we didn't go out to bid for this work. We did receive
Look at
6
that
bids,
first one.
so it was a nice competitive process. We have not worked with Gunter, but the architects have, and I've been extremely pleased with them. They come with great references and recommendations. So yeah, you'll see that the classroom, the outdoor classroom is actually going to be, it's going to be closer to the building. You'll see. Do you mind if I?
Wait.
Please, yes, please. I'm trying to picture where everything is because it doesn't look exactly like the other picture.
So there's the building.
Okay.
This is the south side, so that's where it'll be, that will be asphalt. This will all be fenced in, the new drainage and storm sewers, et cetera. And then that'll do sidewalks that'll go through these 2 little areas over here.
They look like
with the little amoebas in them.
Amoebas, yeah.
Those are that is the outdoor classrooms, and that'll have some limestone barriers around it. That will also be synthetic turf in that area as well. And then that is, those are like little sitting stools, but they're very natural looking. And then closer to the building is the area for the smaller kiddos right there.
Okay.
And then across the way is the area for the larger kiddos. And they're not restricted to that. We just kind of age appropriate with the size of that. And then you go down and again, we have a little bit of a barrier to protect from the mulch kind of creeping into our synthetic turf area. And that's where we have the 3 base swings that have some 2 friendship swings that are accessible. And then that big group swing that we talked about.
Okay.
And so that will all be AstroTurf, synthetic turf. That will be mulched. This is the south. And then it will all be fenced in.
And the part on the bottom is where the basketball court and tetherball and everything.
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
Did that help?
Yeah, for sure. I can picture it now. It was turned.
Yeah. 4 square, yeah.
Four square, yeah. There you go, Mr. Green. You can go play tetherball in Foursquare.
One out of two isn't bad.
So yeah, we received 6 bids for this. Happy to respond to questions. Otherwise, we would request approval to contract with Gunter Construction for the site work.
Any questions? Any questions on your side, Mr. Green?
None here.
All right. Then I will entertain a motion for this.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with Gunther Construction for the Butcher Green Playground site work for an amount not to exceed $205,454.
Second.
All right, been properly moved and second to approve a contract with Gunter Construction for Butcher Green Playground not to exceed $205,454. Any further discussion? All right, then all in favor, raise your hand. All right, any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we will move on to family and community involvement.
Thank you guys very much. I very much appreciate that. So next up, we do have an update that I know it always is a point of conversation with the school board, as we have the last several years. Been fortunate enough to have a partnership with Cornerstones of Care and begin a lot of our social emotional work. And I had this conversation with Cheryl not too long ago. When we think back, it hasn't been that long, but the things that we've been able to accomplish in our school district with this partnership and additional partnerships in a short period of time, when even just 5 years ago, none of this existed in our school district in this capacity. I'm extremely proud and always continually talk about this and highlight this as one of the coolest things and the best things for kids that we do in this district. So extremely excited to have Cornerstones with us again to talk through a little bit of this information, and certainly we'll be able to entertain questions that I know you will have, because it's always really good information for them. So we've got Julie Plunkett here. So Cheryl, I don't know if you want to say anything before she gets started, or you're welcome to jump in at any point in time as well.
I just want to welcome Julie back to give our report again. She is our coordinator we work with for our Cornerstones of Care services, PK through 8 now. Yay. So Julie, I'm going to turn it over to you and you can give us the highlights since the last time you were in front of the board.
All right. Thank you. It's always a pleasure to be here and to be able to present all the things that are going. It's definitely been an interesting year with COVID and everything, but really thrilled to that we were still able to continue to work and adapt and change things. So I will go ahead and I have my screen ready to share, kind of just share some highlights. So this, where I'll start is just kind of with some of the post-screening services. We did do screenings this year, but they were delayed till about November. We started it, normally we do September, but we delayed till November. And actually, we put a lot of time and planning into how we were going to do these, and they went actually better than I think they have gone yet. It was the smoothest we have seen. We were able to do them virtually, so we're really excited for that prospect. There were about 100 less students that did it, which is not surprising with so much going on, and as well as we were not able to do the in-person talk with the families. It was part of the consents were done through the enrollment. So I've sent in all the numbers and stuff that you can look at for those different things. And for tonight, I'll just focus on kind of what's been happening since we've finished those screenings. In the past, there's been questions about outcomes and to be able to show that the work we are doing, is it making a difference? So with our program, we use Ohio Worker Scales, which just rate on problem severity and functioning improvement for students. And it's specifically used for our therapy clients. We've been doing it with our elementary, and we're just going to start with we've just started with our middle school. And so what it does is it'll break down if they've had improvement or clinically significant improvement through times with therapy. And it's a pre and post test. So unfortunately, we did have only about half of them that were filled out at pre and post. So so I wanted to at least show you that this is an area we're going to continue, but you'll see that there was each one that was done, there was improvement overall, but there was significant improvement clinically in 5 of the 6. So we're really excited for that. Sometimes those numbers can be down because children move in and out of the program, moving out of the district, and so we don't always get to finish treatment. But for the ones that were discharged the first semester, we saw a lot of improvement there. So we have been able to reach out to 134 families. And where those families were, those were all the ones that were elevated. So if they were elevated in any of the 3 areas, we reached out to them and offered them students. And then parents received letters stating that that there were additional results, whether their kid was elevated or normal. If a parent whose child scored normal, they're still eligible for services. We just didn't call them, but they get that letter so they can check in on that as well. At the end of this year of 2020, we had 24 elementary families that were receiving therapy services and 15 middle school students that were receiving services. It has been, everything has been done virtually, which has been a challenge certainly at times, but we are finding that those families that stick with it, there is a lot more engagement with the parents, and that's been really exciting to see them get more involved than they have been in the past. So we're definitely fine tuning everything and adjusting as we go with COVID. Excited to, we spent a lot of time today planning to go back in person next week. And so we're really excited that we hope to be able to reach a lot more families being back in person, because there are some definite challenges trying to provide that virtually. If you see here, we did 441 students were screened of the spring of 2020, and we did 326 in fall of 2020. So it's just a little under, more than 100. 173 students had never been screened previously in the elementary. So of those 326, some of those were brand new families that we had not worked with before. And in the middle school, we'd had 2 students that had never been screened previously. So as I said, virtual services have been provided to students, families, and school personnel. We've really made a focus to reach out and be available to teachers as well, and be able to, because they're as important as the students, and the parents, just to be there as a support for whoever needs that and is able to. There were a few responses from the teachers. I'm going to guess that a lot of that was because they're stretched, right? That's hard to, they're trying to get everything done. I'm hoping that as we're going back into in person, we will be able to reach out to them more effectively when we're in the building. The services to children were and offers, as we said, were primarily virtual. And that was one of the struggles with that was lower acceptance. When they did say, yes, we want therapy, there was lower follow through. We had some issues with, a lot of issues with no shows. So I think that'll level out again as we're coming back into person. And we're not able to do groups. 2 reasons for that. One, the screenings is how we usually determine who needs groups. And those were so late in the year. But the other reason was we want to be very mindful of confidentiality. And when kids are on virtual, one of the issues is you don't know who's in the room, right? So you only know who's on the camera, and you can't tell if there's other people. The concern with that is you have multiple kids in here, and so you're multiple people in different homes. Like if you're doing it in just their home, it's going to be just their family. If you're in a group, it could be multiple families looking. And so we were really concerned about not wanting to violate that confidentiality. But we've got some ideas working to be able to do some thinking outside the box, creative ways to provide groups for students in the spring. Recommendation 1, which we kind of talk about each time, is to provide universal interventions to students and families based on risk identified by screening data. A list of students by building, grade level, and gender that were evaluated was used to support caseload for the Family Resiliency Navigator. And that was used, so we built it off of the spring one. Those who were elevated in spring, who also consented for screening in the fall. We started reaching out to those families before we did screening. So we weren't waiting until November to reach out families. We just used that information we had from the spring to reach out to those. And then those who were really critical, we started doing them a little earlier, but the bulk of them were done in November. The family resiliency navigators in the elementary and middle school, as well as the middle school therapist, continue to also provide services to students and families. Our elementary therapist is kind of on a referral basis, and her caseload is capped a little more. But the other three are open as needed. Screenings were done virtually, as I said, using a virtual best format, which will probably continue into the future because it worked very nicely. Recommendation 2, provide professional development to school staff based on areas of need identified by screening data. What we did this year's, I did a recording at both of the 2 recordings for the PD days, one on connection with students during COVID and then one on neuro-informed discipline strategies. We would like to, we talked about last year about doing some targeted trainings by building. That was delayed until things are returning to normal. One, you've got a lot of teachers and school building personnel who are already stretched. Adding something new and is not necessarily maybe a good time, as well as not being in person made it a little more difficult. So we're still hoping to do that, but it'll probably just wait till things return more to normal. Recommendation 3 was to provide school-based wraparound services to students with significant risk. We respond to all elevated scores and offer services. We work to partner with teachers and staff of students that they see need extra support, reaching out to them to see if they have any referrals they would like to send. We are working to continually increase our contact with families and support them. One of the really exciting things for me over this last year, and it grew out of this need I saw from COVID, that we knew that therapy was going to be difficult because of the format, but also because when we've got such a crisis situation going on and there's lack of resources, therapy is not high on people's list. It's more about those basic needs. And so we work to get our team trained in solution-based casework. And I won't say a lot about it. I can talk, if you have questions, I can go into it more. But basically, it is a really focused approach that works really closely can work with the parents, with the adults in the child's life. We can do it in the school to provide some real concrete solutions for problem areas, and to really work to celebrate successes and give them some very strong action steps so that we're more holistically looking at the child and the family and their success within school, home, and that whole area. So we're still working and refining that, but we're really excited to be able to offer that. Recommendation 4, provide expanded support from student interns. We are still working to find the most efficient use of student interns. This has been difficult virtually. Unfortunately, they didn't get a lot of opportunities to do anything through the fall because of the high no-show rate, but they are super excited. I can't tell you how excited they are to start next week. We have 2 of them. They will both focus in Butcher Green. So that was the identified need. They will be doing groups, case management, and some additional support to the schools. So they're really excited. I think it'll be a great experience for the school, the students, the teachers, for everybody. So they will, as I said, provide group interventions, looking at some creative ways to tie in academics with it. They'll be doing a reading group where they're talking about social emotional skills. So while they're reading books about social emotional skills, they can also talk and process that real time about what that's like for them and the students, as well as practice with the reading, and they'll get some training to be able to do that. There are 2 interns dedicated, like I said, and to this year. And then they will provide case management to those within Butcher Green who need it, or virtually they can provide it to some of the other schools. Provide a thorough description of services offered to school-based personnel. We developed flyers. This is one of the areas that we really heard a need. What do you guys do? What is your focus? And so we were able to develop flyers for the schools and parents that talked about what their role is and what they do. And I've started also more closely tracking how they're spending their time so that we can more efficiently hone in on where those needs are and be able to provide those needs. We also were looked at last year, putting into place the collaborative and proactive solution model with Ross Green. Some of them are using it more than others, and it's starting to implement it. We're not going to fully use this model until later. Again, we felt it was just not real helpful to start something new during these times, but we're hoping to put the CPS model and SBC together to really have a concise language and a very consistent research informed programs on how we are meeting these kids' needs. For COVID, again, we continue to do therapy, case management virtually, and next week we will go to in person. Again, we'll continue to work with the school personnel, and we are getting ready to start the screenings again in March. And those will again be done one-on-one virtually, and which has been very effective during this time. So our process improvements, we adapted to the virtual format, the screening one-on-one instead of doing them as group. You can kind of look through these. A lot of these I've already talked about. We're just refining again other ways that we can really go through. And at the end of spring 2021 screenings, we'll be able to give you some report some on how the kids scored from the first semester to the second. So we've added some things into our reporting to allow us to do that. The other exciting thing, I think, is we were able to, in the midst of all of this, get a grant from the Kauffman Foundation to bring services into the preschool. And so that has been an interesting thing to try and get this off the ground during the middle of COVID. But everybody it's just been, I think we're all super excited and ready and refining how we want to make that. The goal is, again, to look at that wraparound model where we provide individual and family therapy, strengthen families, and build resilient classrooms. And so we work, that therapist works with the families, the children, the school to really build a great program. The idea is to prepare them for kindergarten so that they have kindergarten readiness. She will also be able to target children up to 10 weeks into kindergarten to make sure that they're making that transition from preschool into kindergarten. That we start with it. We did an orientation. We've done consultations. We're doing individual and family therapy. We're working from the conscious discipline model within the school, as well as a sanctuary model, which is our trauma informed. And we're doing universal assessment and evaluation there as well. The difference is we use the DECA, the Devereaux, because that is more of the standard for preschool. So it is, we score and look at that. We do a pre and a post test, and that'll be how we determine what services those children are needed and make sure that both parents and schools are working on the same thing. So there's consistency for the preschoolers throughout. Again, it was a slow start. We're trying to figure out how to get the information to the families to get signatures. At the end of the 2020, we had done 5 screenings. And all 5 of those have gone on to do individual and family supports. They were targeted students, so not a universal thing at this point yet. So that's why I think all 5 went on to receive it. 2 of those students, though, have been referred on for additional support for more intensive therapeutic support. And then she has been 1 day a week in the school since about Thanksgiving, and she's getting ready to go in twice a week, and we're going to start adding her time into the school to really support that. And so I'm just really excited. We're really focusing too on how we can get creative and supporting those kindergarten through 2nd graders. We've definitely increased the numbers of them we're able to support as well. So I don't know, I just thank you all for the opportunity to be here and be able to continue to serve your district and your families, your children, students, and I'll open it to any questions you have.
Questions?
Just got one question. So is the high school, are they not included in the screening process?
We do not provide services for the high school. That's through Rediscover.
I can add to that. The high school, it's on an as we can make referrals, teachers, counselors, families make referrals, and they're screened and handled by Rediscover. And Marissa Eberling is that therapist, and she will be back on campus starting next week also.
Okay, thank you.
I was really happy to see the more even distribution amongst our elementary schools this time. That was very concerning before. So whatever you guys did to fix that, thank you. I appreciate that.
We worked really hard.
Yeah, I can tell. It definitely paid off. Middle school still needs some work though.
It does, you know, I think as we continue to increase the services and see what the true need is there, I mean, certainly that's, we were excited to add that portion, but also it kind of hit at the same time as all the rest of this. And so I think we'll see more of those services evolve into next school year. And so it'll be interesting to have this conversation a year from now and kind of see where we are with that and see how it did change. Because we know the need still exists in that, which is why we added those services, but also with principals there, that certainly will continue to have that dialogue and conversation and are very welcoming for those services. I think we will absolutely see the increase there, but I think it's just a continual process.
Yeah.
Right. In the middle school, those are not, we don't do universal screenings there. So we plan for about 50 throughout the whole year. So they are done a little different. So we see a lot more students than are actually screened in the middle school.
Gotcha. Well, great job. I mean, just, you know, this is, I don't know how many we've seen now at this point, and just the progress and everything that's improved over the years that I've seen these reports. I mean, just thank you for everything you're doing. I mean, I know our families appreciate it. Our students need it, especially given the current situation. Yeah. So just thank you for everything.
Well, you're welcome. We're thrilled to be able to be a part of this. It's a great district and great families.
I just echo what the. Well. Go ahead, Kenny.
No, please.
No, I'll just say I just echo what our vice president said. Thank you so much for what you do. Our communities, our community needs it. The kids, especially now. So thank you. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Yeah, just very appreciative of our partnership. And again, thinking of pre-K through 12 services that we have in place now in our district for the first time in our history over the course of the last year has been really amazing to have. And certainly at a time that we know there's even more need right now than ever before. So there are people right now scrambling to input services in, and I am pleased that we already had our framework in place that we could just continue to add to it. So very grateful for our partnership, and Julie's been amazing to work with, and certainly all the way up to Denise Cross, at Cornerstones continues to be very supportive of our partnership and wanting to make sure that we continue to work together. And so very, very thankful for our partnership and what it's provided for our kids.
Thank you, Julie.
You're welcome. Thank you.
That's all for that item, ma'am.
All right, thank you. That is just informational. So we will go ahead and move on then.
This is the KC Literacy Program. Very actually excited to present this and have some information for the board. So Ms. Deanna.
That's exactly what I was going to say. I'd like to introduce Angela Cordier to talk about it because we are very excited for this new partnership.
Yes, we are. First of all, a little bit about Literacy KC. They provide free adult education classes to people in the Kansas City metro area. Many of the students and their participants come to Literacy KC in order to gain skills necessary to obtain jobs, to get promotions, to develop English proficiency, and to seek their high school diploma. Back in June 2020, Literacy KC received a grant and they contacted the district, myself and Ms. Malloy, and they were interested in offering ESL, English as a second language, and the high school equivalency to parents here or to parents and people here in South Kansas City. Currently, they have classes that's in the city and also at Longview Community Center. So they were very interested in coming a little bit further south. It was a natural fit for Community Academy because that was, according to one of the surveys that we did, English, learning English as a second language, and the high school equivalency, that was a need that they had suggested that they were really interested in. So with that being said, we decided to move forward. The anticipated start date was supposed to be this past Tuesday, but it was way too cold. So the anticipated date will begin next Tuesday. End date will most likely be that last Thursday in May. We do expect, the plan is that they will have a total of 4 days, a class on Monday, Wednesday, and a class on Tuesday, Thursday. And they will be 3-hour classes. Right now, due to COVID, they will be starting just a Tuesday, Thursday class from 6 to about 8:00 p.m. So we are very excited. We're excited to work in this partnership. I'm looking forward to sharing some of this information with you next month when I talk about the program evaluation for Community Academy. So I look forward to sharing more information, but this is definitely an exciting time in meeting the needs of our parents here in the district. Any questions?
Can you repeat, where did you say the classes would be held?
Classes.
Where did you say the classes?
Where or when?
Where?
Where?
Okay, the classes will be held at CARE in the counselor's room, which is room 111. So it's right when you walk into CARE, it's that classroom that's right there on the left side. And so it will be at CARE and it will begin at 6 p.m.
Any other questions? All right, well, thank you. This looks really exciting. Can't wait to see our next report on it.
Very exciting, looking forward. Thank you, Ms. Cordier, appreciate you.
Definitely.
Think you're gonna hang around for just a minute anyway, right?
Yes.
We will finish up February and we're ready to move on when you are.
All right, we will move on then. Strategic governance.
So in this particular area, we have talked about this several different times. We try to have some opportunities to bring this back to the board and give you an update. So this will be kind of a shorter version of that to just kind of see where we are as kind of the halfway point, so to speak, of this year. And so each one of the categories will provide an update for you. And so my team and Ms. Cordier, part of that team as well, will provide updates in each one of these areas. So I'll start with area 1, focus area 1, strategic governance. Just want to highlight a couple of different things. You see a lot of the colors that you would want to, a lot of in progress things that we would hope would continue forward. And so certainly a lot of different things that are ongoing at this particular time. There's a lot of things in this category that are annual reviews and kind of check mark things to make sure that we're still following up on the things that we need to do, compliance pieces and such. When we go down to things like maximizing our resources, you can see obviously we are continually going through that, and you'll hear that at every single board meeting. When we're talking about promoting and supporting the workforce excellence, I want to highlight certainly things that we're doing in green there that we've already reviewed the professional development plan and brought that to you. You've heard an update on that tonight of part of that implementation. You also have heard various times talking about the communications plan. That's been an ongoing piece for us. So that's kind of the things that I'll show there. As we go into goal 2, again, we annually contract with Missouri School Board Association. There's actually some components on our board agenda again tonight around there. And then again, several pieces around in progress items that we feel very strongly that we're going to be able to meet all of those by the time we get to the end of the year. Certainly, Grandview 8 and 10 process is ongoing. Two of our board members have been a part of that process, and that'll be coming your way over the course of the coming months as well. As you kind of peruse down into goal 3, certainly as you see a lot of in progress and orange, your eyes will immediately go to action step 2 under objective B, that's red. This is something that we had a lot of conversations when we developed this, and certainly the cultural competency components that I brought back to you and continue to talk about. This is one of those that we felt like was important. And when we developed this particular piece, we wanted to make sure that we continue to reach out to families and how do we get input and how do we continue to have those dialogues and conversations. Obviously, a lot of things stopped with how we wanted to do that, and we've had to kind of change that a little bit, and our focus has just been elsewhere. But that doesn't mean this is less important. It's something that I still at least want to be able to begin. And so I gave that update at the very beginning of my superintendent's report to make sure that I dovetailed it with this, in that when we have this conversation with our kind of group that I'm meeting with in terms of district leadership, this is a part of that conversation and planning out how do we meet this? How do we do that? And if it's in a virtual environment, great. Maybe that's the way we want to do that. Maybe it's something like we're doing in here where we're going to have a group that's going to be in person, but we also allow people to Zoom in, because that's very convenient now for individuals and families that, hey, I just can't get out, or for whatever reason, I can be there from this time to this time, but it'd be more convenient to be able to do that. So I think those are still going to be action items, but I wanted to specifically address that one since it certainly was a red. But as you can see on most of those other ones, a lot of annually review and in progress type things that will be able to, I think, meet most of the, if not all of those. Happy to answer any questions about focus area 1, but again, a lot of the board governance pieces and a lot of the compliance things that as you read through those, certainly there will be things that you'd be able to see allocated resources to safety enhancements, but you can tell we've brought a lot of those things to you already as we've gone through the course of the school year, even just to this point.
No questions?
All right. No questions? We'll go on to area 2 and student success. Dr. King.
Okay, under student success, you'll notice we've taken a lot of things under, we're in the process of. In objective 1, the guaranteed and viable curriculum for all content, all levels is ongoing. We have completed ELA and math. Tomorrow we begin, before break, we started science. We start social studies tomorrow, and then we follow up. So it is our goal by the end of 2021 school year, we will have all 4 content areas completed with a written and viable curriculum, and then we'll begin specialty and other areas. In addition to the work with the written and viable curriculum is the work with proficiency scales. And you have to understand the proficiency scale would be every standard that the state gives us to address. We have to determine what does success look like. It's a success criterion. So in other words, you wouldn't just say a kid gets an A, B, C, D, F. It is based on this proficiency scale. Where along in a scale have they mastered that standard? And in doing that, we have to do a deep dive into understanding the standard, understanding what proficiency looks like from a standard, and how to assess that in a viable way. There's a lot of work to be done on assessments, the formative assessments we give along the way, the checkpoint assessments, to make sure that we're actually measuring what we think we're measuring, and we're measuring it in the correct way. So those are ongoing discussions. That is a lot of teacher collaboration on that, to reach an agreement on what the success criteria look like for the students of Grandview, and how do we measure it. So all this is ongoing. As we go down here, you will notice that the only thing that we've got some red on is our preschool. Under that preschool, we have, unfortunately, with COVID, it has kind of dampened our efforts to make sure that we are bridging that gap between the preschool to kindergarten. We had planned a mass screening last year at all of our sites for kindergarten screening, and then utilizing the data that was given from High Grove toward that mass screening and sorting classrooms and doing a lot of things. That was, I'm just going to honestly put on hold. We didn't, kindergarten enrollment was down. We didn't get a lot of people that would agree to come into screenings. So we really just kind of are going to punt that one and start again. what we're doing right now at preschool is really trying to line up how can we make our preschool more intentional for helping our students in when they go into K, K on. We're looking at all day. We're looking at how do we can capture some ADA on our preschool. Looking at advancing and increasing our Head Start programs as well. Ms. Bradley has taken that on full force and has cleared some spaces. And so she said, if you tell me that I need to add some classrooms, I'm ready to go. So we're looking at funding and looking at some different things we can do there to really tie our preschool to the needs of our community. So that's obviously not happening right now. It's something we've got in the planning process that we want to continue. If you go down further to action C, still working on our understanding and integrating academics and behavior and how those things are rapidly tied together and how we can assess and help students be more successful. Obviously, they did not take MAPS or EOCs last year, so when we take this year, we'll be looking at how we're demonstrating achievement on those high stakes testing as well. I do feel like we've done a great job in advancing our dual credit courses that we're able to offer in spite of COVID. And I think we are making great gains at our high school on real world learning experiences and providing a more equitable, relevant education for them. That is ongoing, and we will be able to have a lot more action steps for you completed, I think, by this time next year.
May I just comment, just to help clarify? In this plan, if you don't see a color code in front of the action step, it means it's not applicable in this year. So it doesn't mean it didn't happen or we're ignoring it. And in fact, there may be some activity depending on.
I just didn't feel ready. I didn't feel like I could say that we were at a halfway point or anywhere with it.
But when we did the plan a couple of years ago, there were certain years these things were planned to be implemented or completed or so forth. So if you don't see a color code, it's because it's not supposed to be addressed in this year.
Or couldn't there be, like, so action step 4 under C says district achieve 95% rate annually. I mean, that really is every year, right? And we don't, that's not an in progress thing, right?
Yeah, we're not there yet.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to show that to you. So in our first 2 years, whatever, I don't want to speak for Dr. King's group, but if you look at this the way I set it up, then in terms of determining where we're at, I'm following where these little X marks are. So that's why it's not.
Okay.
That makes sense?
Yeah.
So
We're
they're
working
doing
towards,
whatever
we're
they
working
need
towards
to do
that in 21,
to work toward
22.
that.
That's when the first year we'll measure and say,
what
yes,
we're
we got that.
Correct.
This is one of those things that you would appreciate because you like those achievable goals.
I do.
Right.
I do. You're listening.
They don't always fit nice and neat in those categories, but we try to still have many of those in those areas.
It's nice when they do.
It is.
I have a
We have to
question about-
entertain any questions on our goals or where we're at with that.
I have one, but I'll let everybody ask first. Go ahead. Any questions? Okay, I have one. The preschool you mentioned, kind of looking at, all day preschool or what we're gonna do there. So not too distant past, we had all day preschool and they cut it down to 2 half days to serve more students. So in a non-COVID world, let's pretend it doesn't exist, would we still be able to serve as many families and students if we went back to all day?
Yes, well, yes. Without adding a classroom, we would actually serve, I think, 5 less because the state has now raised how many we could have in a classroom in a Title I classroom. We had a conversation with Head Start recently on what funding can they give us and what funding would they be willing to meet us halfway with and those kind of things. They're very interested in bringing to the table more conversation, is what they've said. So it's just more, Dr. Rodriguez had tasked my team with looking at the possibilities. How do we look at making our preschool more relevant and serve more students and make it so that we're seeing the payoff, really having kids kindergarten ready. We know if we put our focus and our some funding in that early childhood, we will see a payoff. It's proven research. And so how do we start understanding that and making that more? We turn families away right now, or families turn us away. It's what happens right now. Is the minute we say it's half day, sorry, I need full day, and they don't come back. Whereas our early Head Start is full day and there's a waiting list to get into that. So I think that that's something, information we need to take into consideration is families want the full day. What can we provide for them and not have less? Right now, we're not fully filled right now. We could take more students, even virtually or hybrid right now, because families say, I need full day. So I think that's information we're bringing to the table. All this is going to be in a report to give to Dr. Rodriguez for his consideration for if you would like to consider preschool being ADA as part of our ADA funding.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments?
Actually, step one there for the kindergarten, I mean, seems to go hand in hand, seems like it's pretty important. Is there anything from the actual kindergarten class to be used as assessments as those kiddos are going through?
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we did last year is we purchased a brand new assessment tool that we trained all the kindergarten teachers on how to use in person for them to do a screening assessment that really matched what the preschool was doing with the dial, with our parents as teachers and those kind of things. We tried to match these assessments up. We were able to give it a few times. Families who let their children come in, we were able to give it. So we really feel like it's primed to be ready for it. We need to have it. Everybody needs to take it. We need to have data that we can share that's apples to apples with everybody. And then thinking about how we take that data, which was tested kids on 4 domains, basically early cognitive abilities, some language abilities, behavior, social emotional needs, as well as early numeracy. So it gave us 4 domains we could start looking at, and how do we start thinking about strategically matching teachers and students with what they need and classes together that would be able to, more homogeneous, that we could actually start making some more movement on. So it's exciting what we're going to be able to do when we have a full set of data to be able to do that. And that we're starting to think about kindergarten screens for this year coming up, and we're really hoping that we can have a better outcome.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
It's like that was a plant, like you planted that question.
ESP, that's what it sounds.
It's great, actually, that there's been a lot of work on that, and it was something that we've been talking about for several years about an issue and just being consistent with our screening. So her and her team were able to do that. So I'm very glad that you asked that question. It gave her an opportunity to provide that update because a lot of work went into that. So
it's kind of disappointing when we didn't get to.
I know.
Do it.
She was very disappointed in March and April when we had to change those into the summer. So it'll get better.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you very much. That is just informational, so we can go ahead.
2, we're gonna go to 3. I'll go over to
3, never mind, I thought we were done.
I'll go over
Ready
to
to
Miss
move you on.
Deanda.
Go ahead.
I'll go over to Miss Deanda and our workforce.
I will try to move through this efficiently since we are ready to go. I do
Sorry.
understand that. No sweat at
I
all.
thought we were at the bottom.
I totally get it. So in regard to our goals under workforce excellence, the first goal, we are in the middle of all of that. It's that time of year where we are working with Grandview 8 and Grandview 10. We have a lot of work going on this year with both of those groups in regard to salaries and benefits and quality of work life. As you may remember, we are doing a complete reworking of Grandview 8. And that work has been going very smoothly, and we're getting a lot of input from our classified folks, and we feel like we're on track and probably will be bringing some suggestions for new policy to you soon. Our Grandview 10 group is also meeting, and we have a lot of projects within those groups as well. The teacher promotion program, we are still working with the high school, suggesting the Phi Delta Kappan program, and we hope to move that forward, brainstorming with the middle schools about ways that we can incorporate promoting teacher programming and teaching as a profession to their folks. That will look a little bit different, but they're doing a lot of work at those levels anyway. So this is something that in regard to their programming and what they're offering their kids in their curriculum. So we're hoping to be able to weave what we would like into that, and we're working with them on that. Diversity and recruiting, this looks a little different because everything is virtual. So we will not be visiting some of the career fairs as we would traditionally be doing. But we are looking at other opportunities. Some of those are going virtual. It's just recruiting as a whole is certainly a challenge in these times, not just because a lot of it is virtual, but because folks are kind of reluctant to leave any sort of regional area that they're in. And that's important to us because we do get folks locally, of course, but in regard to recruiting diverse candidates, we do need to move outward, out of the metro area and into some other areas. So that while we're making progress, that has been a challenge. In regard to goal 2, we are working with, and as you know, Dr. Rodriguez has a cultural competency committee that is meeting again. We had a little bit of a delay because we had a lot of things going on, but we're back at it. One of the items that I hope that we get to is how that looks and sounds and what we can do to provide those opportunities for our staff in regard to training. I don't know if you wanted to say anything about that, Dr. Rodriguez, but it is a goal and we're working toward that. Goal 3, as you can see, there are a lot of greens there. They're doing a great job. I probably will defer to Dr. King in regard to that, as that is PD. And I guess I will say in regard to the steps I just talked about, in HR, you know, those are always ongoing. So they will be green at the end of the year, but we will turn them back yellow next year as we continue to do that as we move forward. So Dr. King, on goal number 3.
I mean, I kind of talked a little bit about how where our PD has gone and what's been happening with it, but I feel very, very good about where the spot we're at, and then also then taking it further. I mean, I think there's ways to go. I think there's always, I mean, I always look at there's always ways to get better, and there's always improvement that can be made with our professional development. But I do feel like there's been a great partnership on what things can be done to help our new teachers, especially, and our BTAP, Beginning Teacher Assistance Program, and then also just professional development in general.
Yeah, kudos to the new teacher program that has really improved over the last few years, and the feedback on that as well. At this time, take any questions that you might have. Any questions? Okay, thank you all.
Resource stewardship and organizational efficiency. So, and obviously there's any number of different things that are always going on in the finance facilities operations side that you guys always see. So, Ms. Cook.
Yeah, as you'll see, pretty much everything is in progress. A few things that we have completed that I'd like to highlight is obviously under goal 1, objective B, step 3 is outlining the financial support needed for facilities improvements and developing a plan to gain patron support to permit the issuance of bonds. Real happy to make that one green with the board's vote in December to place the ballot, the issue on the ballot. Another one that I'm super excited about to highlight, I want to continue, is 2B6, which is the alerting families about the bus. We have implemented a Here Comes the Bus app, which is wonderful. Parents can see when their kid scans on the bus, off the bus. You can see when the bus, it alerts you when the bus is entering your area. You can see where it is. Really a nice program for our families, and especially in weather like this, you can kind of monitor things a little bit better to help with that. We haven't, I mean, it's up and running, but we haven't implemented all of the features of it because the flip side of that is that we can also use that, our administrative team can use that. So Ms. Simon when we get it fully implemented and get the training on it, Ms. Simon will be able to look and say, where are all my buses? And she will know when her buses have gotten rid of all of the kiddos and they're heading back to the lot. So kind of because I was, seems on Fridays always we need to, that we check that, because that's when things seem to happen, but it's really a very user-friendly program. We've gotten some really good feedback on it, so super excited that we've gotten that in place. And then the other one I would highlight, this is our, unfortunately, this is kind of our silver lining of COVID-19. On objective C, step 5 is the alternative breakfast delivery option at the elementary schools. Last year we implemented breakfast in the classroom at Butcher Green. We had some other schools that thought, oh golly, maybe they'd like to try that, but they were a little hesitant about that. More schools are doing it this year. I think they actually like it. They're seeing the benefits of, come when the bell rings, those kids are in their class, they're settled down, they're ready to start their day. I think it's really a much more efficient way to do things. It makes it a calmer environment. So our glass half full for COVID is that it has forced us to take a look at some alternative meal delivery patterns for some of our kiddos. Some of the second chance breakfast ideas that they've implemented at the secondary level. So real pleased to see that one has come out of what hasn't been such a great environment. So everything else is pretty much in progress, but I'm happy to respond to any questions anyone has.
When was that one scheduled to be completed?
Which one?
Initially, the breakfast. So like on the schedule with the X's and stuff, everything else is in progress, but that's green. So should it have been completed this year or green this year or?
Yeah. It's 2C5.
Let's say it's further down. Yeah, that one.
And that's probably
next year. Next year. Look at you, a whole year ahead.
Well, we haven't. We'll still have to do more, and once things go back to normal, we'll have to make sure that they remember how beneficial it was to have to be providing the meal delivery in this way.
And more than likely, I mean, we're still not going to be completely back to normal, obviously. So there will still be some benefits to that anyways, rather than putting, say, 250 kids in a cafeteria at that particular time. So my guess is that will still be an ongoing benefit for any number of reasons. But again, prior to even during this time, the feedback was that was going very well. I was very supportive of it. Certainly Dr. King, who had actually experienced it as a principal as well, was very supportive of it. And so it ended up working extremely well. But it was something that we were looking at. But even other options at our high school and middle schools, and trying to just be as creative as possible to increase the amount of food that our students are able to receive. It's like, oh, I don't feel like doing that, or they didn't have time, they're already running late, and they just run into the classroom. And so trying to find creative ways for them to still be able to eat. And so that's part of that still kind of process as well. So it'll be ongoing, but absolutely, definitely ahead of schedule in that regard.
And at the high school, we're kind of reorganizing some things to try to give it more of a food court flair and be a little more appealing to kids, implementing a program where kiddos can order their lunch on their phone, and there'll be a pickup station where they grab their bag and go. So Sandra Ray is doing a nice job with trying to bring that up to speed and make it a little more appealing to the kiddos, because we know we have to.
We'll make sure you get another opportunity to test that out whenever.
I would love it.
Yeah, we can do. Oh no.
Someday. Someday. All right.
All right, thank you so much. And so now we have area 5, which is certainly continually being one of the kind of main things actually for a lot of the things that we do in our district. So Angela is on the line, so we get to hear from Ms. Cordier one more time this evening. So thank you so much for hanging on.
Well, of course, this is my favorite topic, the family and community involvement. As you can tell on goal number 1, everything is in progress. One thing that we are continually attempting to do is better communicate to our parents, to our stakeholders, to our students. I can say that action step 2, we have really moved forward in making sure that our Spanish-speaking parents are able to understand what is going on in the district and how we communicate with them. So that should most likely be green really soon. Also, the other action steps that are in goal 1, it is constantly ongoing. And so Sheba and I do meet frequently just to see how we can better serve our parents and giving them that information, not only our parents, but staff and all stakeholders. Looking at goal 2, the action step 3, as of next Tuesday, we can color it green. But as you can tell, most of goal 2 has been covered or completed. What we are most proud of course, is looking at the various partnerships that we have. Literacy KC is one. Action step 3, looking at the Caring for Kids partnership, it is still very much important to us, the way we are working with it, but we also have to look at the fact of COVID and volunteers actually coming in. But we are definitely working and striving to better meet the needs of our kids with Caring for Kids. When you look at goal 3, this is one that I am very proud of. We have definitely looked at our customer service. We have addressed that last year. The administrative assistants were able to develop strategies and standards that they were able to implement. We were able, and I was able for the first semester to now work with our with schools. So that's our classified and certified in our buildings. I have currently, for the first semester, I was able to get through 4 schools. So it is my hope that I will be able to work with delivering that great customer service to the rest of our schools. I am hoping before the middle of April. So if there are any questions, I'll be glad to answer.
Any questions? All right.
Just in summary, again, you hear from every single area, a lot of ongoing things, and then we'll kind of see where we end up. I'm excited about where we are now, but also I think there is some momentum of, as things, again, we're not through this by any stretch of the imagination, but we start to see things opening up. But also we've now lived it long enough to where we're now becoming more creative about how can we really still accomplish some of these, regardless of whether we're still in a pandemic. So I am excited by the work in every single one of these areas and appreciate my team working incessantly in all these particular categories, because it is very a lot of work and certainly a lot of different things that you're trying to keep track of at the same time. But I feel like we are making progress in those areas, but we still have a lot of work that we need to do.
Well, I appreciate the work, and I appreciate the pivoting when necessary, especially given, I think it's funny when people say, when we get back to normal, I just am not sure that there is a prior COVID normal ever going to be there again. It's a new normal is the way I see it. So appreciate the pivots for the new normal. So, all right, is that the end now?
That is the end.
All right. Now that's informational, and we can move on to the next thing. Hey, no one's perfect. No one's perfect.
Never.
All right. So we have a board resolution on student protection. And there is a resolution MSBA has created. So hopefully everyone has had a moment to read this. So we need to kind of discuss it. We would then adopt that resolution. But I first wanted to see if anyone had any thoughts on this SB 55 resolution.
Well, I read the resolution. I'm just curious. I mean, by our, say, having this or adopting this resolution, what does that mean if the bill is still passed?
It's a great question.
You know, I would say this has happened before and occurred before. Any number of different things that the board takes a stance on in that particular regard. It could pass, it could not pass. I think you're just trying to show support for this particular position. And so if it passes, and then it would just, it's going to go into law, and we would have to all deal with the ramifications and consequences of that particular decision. But it would just be showing your support for this particular side of it.
I would just add that this is something like, I think we did one on a House bill sometime in the past year.
Yeah,
So with that,
what's happened?
the board passes it, it gets signed, the president and so forth, and then I forward it to the legislators that represent areas that our district is in. So I would probably send it both to the reps and the senators, because I think it's not just about Senate Bill 55. I think MSBA, as I read their background, kind of meshed more into it, which is why it's not referencing or titled as, as SB 55. They mentioned it in there, I think, but. So it's just this board's way of sending a message that legislators can have, choose to share or not share.
I'll try to not get myself in trouble in a public forum, but I will just simply say there is a lot of concern in public school educators and superintendents that I regularly converse with around this particular item. And if you have read it and you have seen it, then you know why it is of particular concern and the ramifications that it could potentially have for the long-term future of not just our school district, but public education and many other school districts in our area. So I'll leave it at that. I'm happy to answer any additional questions around what I know around that particular item, but just give you a little insight there if it helps.
Any other comments?
I mean, this resolution, I mean, there's a lot of stuff in here, but it doesn't suggest that you're against, a private, charter school. I mean, there's language in here about, public funds and things like that. And I don't know what that, I'm just not sure. I mean, I've got a daughter who I send to private school. And so I don't want to be contradictive, in that to say, that I'm against that. And so I'm on the fence here about and I understand, I've read the bill and understand that. So I guess I'm just, I don't want to be contradictory in accepting this resolve, knowing that I do support, different types of education as well.
Well, I think when you read even the resolve, I think MSBA has done a good job of, it's not, I hate this or this should go away or anything like that. It's looking at the structures of some of those organizations, and if they're going to expand the way that this House bill is written, then it should be with these caveats or with this additional piece. It's kind of like when we talk about charter schools. People have asked me my opinion on charter schools. I'm not opposed to a charter school. I'm opposed to charter schools being treated differently than a public school. They are consider themselves public schools. They receive public school dollars. Therefore, I think they should have the same accountability as the rest of us, but they don't. They're just held to their charter. So you could write a charter saying, I'm going to have 40% of my kids read on grade level. And as long as you meet that charter, you're doing well. It doesn't matter that 60% of your kids aren't achieving, and we're held to a different standard. So the way that this is written, I think, does try to know that anybody is going to have those particular things in their lives. It doesn't mean that that you're against, private schools. It's a matter of how this specific House bill is written to expand those particular areas. So I think they've done a good job of trying to not make those kind of things more difficult for some individuals.
You kind of took the words out of my mouth for that piece of, if you're going to get funding, you should be held to the same standards. And so I think there's that piece, but I also think, from our perspective, right, the third paragraph in here talking about the school board members, just it basically, the way I read it is, if somebody doesn't like your decision-making on the board, let's take one of the districts that a board has said, we're not gonna go back in person. And enough people are really mad about that, they can start a petition and say, well, they all need to go then. So it doesn't matter what you do or how you do it, this one thing, someone could get really mad and start a petition, 25% say you're gone, you're just gone, right? You don't get to complete your term. And to me, that's not, that doesn't seem quite fair. I mean, just putting it bluntly. So.
Particularly when that rule isn't in place for legislators or other
Right.
Right. What other elected officials are they making that requirement of?
Right.
So this bill is comprehensive about a lot of things.
Right. Well, and the fact that it started as something small and ended up to 49 pages, something can bury a lot of things into something that, people aren't going to read the whole 49 pages. There's not, and they're not going to understand what it can mean. And you're exactly right. If you're an elected official, you should all be held to the same standards, not harsher, in my opinion. So. Any other thoughts, Mr. Green? You have anything to add?
I think you guys pretty much covered it, because as I was looking at it, the bottom line for me is, if we're going to be held to the same standards, then that's when it should come into play as far as the money. If you're going to get the same money, you should be held to the same standards. If not, no. So this was kind of an easy one for me. Although we've talked about this a number of times before, so this isn't new. It's been an onslaught on public schools for a while.
Yeah, the charter and private school piece has come up several times just in my tenure on the board. It just keeps coming up,
And will.
It will. Any other final thoughts? All right. Well, this will require a motion then.
I move that we adopt the resolution on student protection.
Second.
It's been properly moved and seconded to adopt the resolution on student protection. Any further discussion? All right, if not, all those in favor, raise your hand. You're waving, good job. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous, thank you. All right, we move on to policies on first reading.
We have one policy, and see if you guys had a chance to review that. So, Ms. Myers?
So just say if the first thing you did, if you looked at this, the explanation is a mile long, and you probably went, holy cow, what is this all about? So I would say that this is really something that Ms. Cook and Ms. Deanna have looked at and worked on and worked toward for a while. This is left over from an issue from a little bit ago, and I don't know, I might let, if one of you want to explain about where we're at with time clock and line and all that stuff, just to give them a recap.
Yeah, we're currently, we're in the implementation phase. We are working
We don't know
through.
what time clock is.
Oh, time clock plus, well, they would have approved it
Oh,
last
that's
year. Time clock plus is. What? Oh, okay. Is a time clock system that we're going to use for our classified hourly staff. We are still in the implementation phases of that. It is very complex to set up, especially with the different work groups that we have in the schedules and everything going on, and making sure that that will integrate with our accounting system. So we have some test people that we're doing, and we're getting very close to being ready to actually have people do it for real. as a test pilot instead of just our test employees in the system that are called test people. We have a test Reggie and a test Linda and all kinds of things. So working very closely with IT, actually taking a lot of Bologna's time in getting this implemented, but it'll be taken care of in the next month or so. And so again, it'll be for our classified hourly staff throughout the district.
So I will just say, we needed a better way, which when that was first brought forward, whenever that was, last spring, maybe, to, what's the best way to say it, track time. And so when this policy came out, before we asked you to look at it and approve it, we needed to make these changes. And so it just has taken a while to do that entire process to get where we're at. So that's why it's been kind of hanging there. And it's also why, it's also why we hope to have it back to you for second reading and be able to start implementing it, before the end of the year.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, that's square. Okay. Any questions about this? Thank you for your explanation of that, because we've got a couple, well, one here tonight, new board members that hadn't heard that before, so. All right, if there are no questions, then we will need to vote on this. I'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the revisions to policy GBA on first reading as presented.
Second.
Thank you. It's been properly moved and second to approve revisions to policy GBA on first reading as presented. Any further discussion? All right, all in favor, raise your hand. Any opposed? All right, passes unanimous. Thank you. All right, we move on to reports of board members and agenda requests. Board member reports? Nothing from you?
Nothing.
You sure you don't have anything?
I don't think so.
You don't want to share about? Oh, yeah.
So we met as an ad hoc group based on our workshop from January 28th. I think we met last Thursday. And I think we came out with a few action items. I think we were looking at perhaps starting back up some tours, perhaps working with the superintendent to set up some visits to schools. We still need to kind of discuss how that might work within the board. I think we're still discussing a potential survey to go out to the community. And then I think there was one more thing that we might have discussed.
It was around how the board can better communicate what its role is, what it does, how well do we, and some of that maybe as a result of what you learned from a survey, but it's about communicating with stakeholders about what the board does.
Right, and I think there's a document out there on the communication site on what it does. So I think we're kind of talking about how we may put that out there, whether that goes in the survey or make it more visible to folks on the website. So I think we're going to reconvene in a couple more weeks to continue that discussion. But very good conversation.
And I'll just add that, Damon just kind of took the bull by the horns there and reached out to other school district boards and asked kind of what they're doing to make sure, we're maximizing our potential here. And so I was pretty excited about that when he came and said, oh yeah, I have all this feedback. I'm like, whoa, what? So that was awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, sure.
That's great. Looking forward to the discussion.
Fantastic.
Thanks for reminding me.
No problem. That's what I'm here for. We can't be perfect, right? That's my mantra tonight. Mr. Green, you have anything?
Actually, I do. I wanted to share something. I'm going to send it out to either Kathy and maybe she can get it to everyone, or I'll send it out. But I was able to participate in a webinar for candidates. And I just wanted to share something, let you guys know that we're on the right track in a couple different ways. One of the main things that they stressed in the new candidates forum was talking about knowing the difference between governance and administration, our role as school board members, understanding the differences, and just basically some of the things that we do as a norm or as norms, they recommended many of them as good practice. So what I want to do is I have the PowerPoint, and I'll forward it out to you. But I would recommend everyone just kind of take a brief look at it, because it was a good refresher, and it was good to confirmation to let us know that we're doing the right things and moving in the right direction. And that's it for me.
Perfect. All right. So then the most important thing tonight. Need a motion.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
Properly moved and second to adjourn. There sure is no discussion. I already see hands everywhere. All in favor? Any opposed? All right. Unanimous. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thank you. Appreciate it
Thank
very
you.
much, all of you.
Look forward to seeing everyone next month, if not sooner.
Yes, sir.
Next month is almost here, though.
Yes, exactly.
Way.
Have a good evening.